Hey guys, how's it going? It's Robert Syslo here, Director of Production for Cardone TV, and today I've got a very special guest in the studio, Mr. Lex Meredith. Where'd you fly in from today?
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Came in this morning, out tonight to come here to Miami studios to do his interview. Lex is a current advertiser and marketer on our network right now and owns a company called Trans World Business Advisors. And we're happy to have you here today, Lex.
Yeah, man,
Thank you so much
Thanks
for coming.
Having us down. It was 21 degrees when I left and 75 when I landed.
Yeah, I know, 75, right? You're like,
Much better.
You're like, I'm going to go study on the beach right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get right into it, man. Tell me what Trans World Business Advisors is. What does it do? And introduce yourself, and let's go from there.
Well, again, I'm Lex Meredith. I'm president and principal broker of Trans World Business Advisors of Virginia Beach and Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. What Trans World Business Advisors is we're a business brokerage, and we fill three huge needs of business owners. We do one, obviously, our primary revenue source is business brokerage, where we will assist business sellers when they go to market, get top dollar for their businesses, and market it in front of as many buyer prospects as possible to make sure that we can drive those prices up. Also, we're a joint venture with United Franchise Group, which is based right down here in West Palm Beach, which is fairly close to Miami. United Franchise Group has 1,400 franchises worldwide. So we're able to assist in not only getting new franchises formed, but also teaching them from a behind-the-scenes look of an actual franchisor who's successful on a global level. We're also in 80 different countries. And then the third thing is we are in partnership with International Franchise Professionals Group, which allows us with new business owners or new entrepreneurs to put them in the position to purchase a franchise and become a franchisee. So we do three things. We do business brokerage, franchise consulting, and franchise development.
And the broker is just buying and selling of businesses, basically, in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most people don't even know business brokers exist.
I didn't know that existed until you and I started talking.
Right.
So what would you say is the primary breadwinner for the company? Like, what is it that you guys focus a lot on, or do you focus all three pretty well?
We focus on all three pretty well, but there's such a need in business brokerage because, number one, obviously, most people don't know business brokers exist. And number two, if they do know that they exist, they don't know how to utilize them most effectively to get their business sold. Less than 5%, or I believe the number was 6% of business sellers, when they take their businesses to market, actually get them successfully sold. So that's about a 94% failure rate when business owners take their own businesses to market. And the 6% success rate that they call it actually involves businesses that get sold off. Maybe the owner got tired of listing the thing on Craigslist or however they're listing it, and they sold it at asset value or below, or they just dumped it off. I wouldn't really consider those successes. Where with a good business broker, you can put yourself into a position to maximize your exit of the company when you do that. So
okay, so you said people don't know that business broker, they don't exist, they don't know that they're there. What is it? How does the process work with you guys? What do you guys do with that? What makes you elevated above everybody else? Like, if I have a business and I will go to you and I want to sell it, how does that work?
Right, absolutely. And I tell everybody all the time when one of my brokers sits down in front of somebody, we go, listen, we're 12%. Everybody else in our field charges 10%, but their 10% is going to be so much more expensive than our 12% to you, because we truly do. We come in, we maximize the value for the business owner when we go out. We earn our fee on the first couple of pencils when we first start getting offers in, with the way that we negotiate the deals. Over 94% of our deals this year in just my local markets, because I only market directly into Virginia Beach, Fredericksburg, and Charlottesville, Virginia. We're working referral deals elsewhere because our franchise agreement allows us to do that, but we're only allowed to directly market in our specific areas. But our first few pencils that go back, we maximize the value. 96% or 94%, I believe, was the number when I left and looked at it this morning, of the deals that we sold at or above list price.
Oh, wow.
So that's really the last thing that we negotiate on, and it's really the knee-jerk reaction that most business brokers or most real estate agents, let's go to the real estate game, most of them want to negotiate price before they ever walk through the door and show the buyer prospect what a good fit this is for you. There's only one business like your business, Robert, if I go to take your business to market. Mm-hmm. And that's really what you have to sell to a buyer prospect is, look, if this is the right business for you, this is the right business for you. Mm-hmm. Warren Buffett will tell you it's better to pay a fair price, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's better to pay a fair price for a good business than it is to pay a good price for a fair business.
Right.
And that's really what
you're paying for what
apart.
you're paid for what you get, essentially.
Yep.
So you're talking about marketing the business, going into different markets, and you had mentioned something in earlier discussions with me about small and middle markets. Can you go into that a little bit and how that plays into what you guys do?
Small business I define as any business that's under about $1 million in value. Middle market businesses are valued between $1 and $100 million, and then you get into the bigger mergers and acquisitions deals, which are $100 million in value and over, which in most cases our sweet spot is going to be right in that small and middle market segment. So now
the majority of your clients are small to middle.
Yep. We got, I think, roughly 4,000 business listings is the number right now, and $1.3 billion worth of businesses listed globally. Most of that is in the United States at this point in time, but we've expanded internationally very, very rapidly over the past few years.
4,000 global, 8,000 globally? Or 4,000?
4,000 globally at this point in time. That's a ballpark number. I do know our exact number on listing total, which is about $1.3 billion worth of value.
So how did you guys get, how do you go out and look for businesses? Do you guys just call people and be like, hey, you want to sell your business?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always working with good buyers in the marketplace.
Sure.
So we just walk in, and my guys and gals are walking into business owners and saying, hey, man, have you ever thought about selling your business? Because 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 of those people is thinking about selling their business at this point in time, is what the statistics will show you. And if they need us, they'll respond well to it. And if they don't, they're going to tell us to take a hike and tell them, yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
We're not here to talk anybody into selling their business, because if I have to fight you in the front end of this thing, I'm going to fight you throughout the entire process of selling your business. But if we walk in and we find a true need and we say, hey, I'm Lex, and this is a beautiful business that you have here. I'm working with a lot of buyers in your marketplace right now. Have you ever thought about selling it? And they tell us yes. Okay, absolutely, man. Let's sit down. Let's review your financials. I'll put a good value on the business. I'll show you the comps of what's recently sold. And I'll ask you, do you want to take the thing to market or not based upon what I've told you? And you're either going to tell me yes or no. And if it's a yes, we're going to take it to market, get you the highest possible dollar amount, spend more money than all of our competitors on marketing, so we do get it out there and get it exposed.
Good. What's the turnaround time on that? How long does it take to sell a business?
I think the last time that I looked at those numbers, it was 9.5 months average time to sale. 6 months is about the Transworld average time to sell.
And what does the owner make on the back end of it after you sell it? What average?
Depends on the business. There's really no good answer to that.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Got it. All right. So you want to learn about how to sell your business? Talk to this guy. Now we're going to move into a little bit something else, which is franchise consulting. So tell me about that. You've got 3 parts of Transworld Business. If I talk about the franchising part of it now.
Franchise consulting, essentially what that is when we have an entrepreneur that reaches out to us and says, hey, listen, I want to buy a business. Not sure what kind of business that I want to buy, but we're always going to ask folks when they come in, have you ever considered purchasing a franchise? Franchising is, if I were to ask you, hey, what's the #1 most successful business model in the world, what would you think it would be?
Well, you're going to tell me it's franchising.
I'm going to tell you it's franchising because it is. Franchising is the absolute most successful business model in the world, for both the franchisor and the franchisee. Franchise consulting, what that is we get approached by a buyer prospect, and instead of them buying a business, they end up buying a franchise. We represent over 300 hand-selected franchises with International Franchise Professionals Group as a partner on that we're able to pair and partner them up with. And franchises are a good way for both experienced entrepreneurs and for new entrepreneurs. Let's say, for example, transitioning military are extremely good for franchises.
Because of the regiment and the discipline?
Because, they've got a mission laid out in front of them. They've got proven systems and processes. In fact, I've gone both routes. I've started my own companies from the ground up, and at this point in time, I own a Transworld Business Advisors, I own 2, which are franchises. And I've found that doing it both ways, both have their strengths and weaknesses for different things, but franchises will allow you to scale more rapidly. They'll allow you to grow a lot bigger. And a good franchisor is not going to put the restrictions on these business owners or entrepreneurs that most people are scared when they start looking at franchises. That's the common misconception. It's really a myth in the marketplace, is that if you buy a franchise, you're going to be restrained. I don't hear from my franchise unless, it's time to pay a royalty bill. And then they call me and they say, hey, this is due. But other than that, I'm using their branding, their systems, their processes to a T, and it allowed me to go from 0 to the #1 company in my marketplace in less than 2 years, which was quick.
It's amazing.
So, it's absurdly amazing with how quickly you can scale using a franchise.
So do you walk into businesses and you're looking for 2 things. You're like, okay, we could buy and sell this business, and we could do you do the actual franchising part as well? You build the franchise?
We'll get to the franchise development part in just a moment, but the franchise consulting was, I thought, what you asked me about.
Yeah, it was.
And franchise consulting allows us to take, for example, you come to me, you say, I want to buy a business.
Yes.
Franchise consulting allows me to say, okay, Robert, have you ever considered purchasing a franchise?
So you
and
guys
doing a new startup? We've got 300 of those that we
Got it.
represent as well that we can pair you up with the best one.
And the consulting aspect of it is really, it's another option for a buyer that's coming in and wants to expand and increase their income. Okay.
Nobody calls us because they want to stay broke. They want to stay in their financial spot that they're in. People call us because they want to build wealth. And if they can't come to the conclusion that they want to build wealth by buying an existing business, perhaps they have lower levels of capital to start off. Most franchises you can get $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 startup capital, where if you go and you purchase a good business, you're looking $400,000, $500,000, $600,000.
You're saying the average price for a franchise is $50,000, $150,000?
$50,000, $150,000. I mean, you got to think you've got other franchises like McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's. Those are all going to be more expensive franchises to purchase. But yeah, most of the franchises nowadays, you're going to have $50,000, $100,000, $150,000. That seems to be the sweet spot of franchise fees. Some of the different franchises, they have more build-out costs and whatnot. But there's a lot of good franchises that are under $100,000, $150,000.
Perfect. So how does the consulting part work? Can you break that down just very briefly?
Yep, real quick. We'll sit you down. We'll ask you thousands of questions, not really. But we'll ask you as many questions as we need to really narrow it down to 2 or 3 franchises that we think may be a fit. And then you'll walk through 1, 2, 3 franchises. You'll talk to the specific specialist on that one franchise or those 2 franchises or 3 franchises and decide, hey, those are a fit, or hey, those aren't a fit. And then we'll come back and we'll reconvene and we'll say, why aren't these a fit? And then we'll typically get it right within the first 2, 3, 4, 5 times of looking at franchises, because you'll be giving me feedback on what it is that you want to see from a franchise and what you didn't like about the ones that you couldn't pull the trigger on.
Exactly. So you're just another avenue for wealth creation then.
Right.
So you're an entrepreneur, he's got $200,000 saved up, and he's like, okay, I like where I am, but I also want to build something else, or maybe they're on their own, they're also looking to extend it. They can come to you. Right. They could either buy a business or they could get a franchise.
Correct.
And you would have them invest in that. So on average, just give me an example, somebody that invests $150,000 with you to buy a franchise, what kind of return could they see on that?
On a new franchise, that's a good question. Because on a new franchise, you're building a business from the ground up, and it's really dependent upon you. On an established business, that's a lot more predictable because you have 3, 4, 5, in some cases 30. Or I had a business call me this morning that wants to sell. It's been in the family for over 100 years, 8 generations, and we're probably going to lock onto that deal and get it sold for them. But on an existing business, you know what kind of a cash flow you're looking at. Grant does a lot of his property purchases. He likes to buy properties that have performed because it has an existing NOI and he knows exactly what he's going to get out of it. Same thing with a business. With a franchise, it's from the ground up. So like with me, I went in and I said, hey, I'm going to put this amount of money into buying this. I made my own projections based upon what I saw that the other guys were doing, but it's really up to you at that point in time.
If you want to invest in it, make it bigger, make it better, add more, take away. It's like what Grant talks about with the apartment complex. Same idea, basically.
Most good franchises, if you put in, they'll have an idea of what you're going to make if you put in the work that they tell you to put in. But it all falls back, just like everything else in life, it all falls back upon what are you willing to do? Are you willing to get up out of bed in the morning, and are you willing to build this thing from the ground up? When I started, we weren't 15 salespeople deep. I was one dude with stuffing envelopes and dropping them. My girlfriend Jackie, she's wonderful. She spent so many nights out in the cold dropping drop cards with me, just getting my name out in the marketplace. And then we just continued to grow based upon the Transworld feedback on how we were supposed to grow the business. And I married my sales processes with their business brokerage processes, and from there it's all been
here you are.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do? We're going to move into the next part, but what are you guys doing as far as annually income right now?
God, we did very well last year, but not as well as we're going to do next year. I broke some records with Transworld this year, but I'm really not happy with the numbers that we hit because they're not where I wanted them to be, right?
Millions, multi-millions?
Next year I want to do about $100 million in sales with the Transworld office, which will do very well for us income-wise.
Very good.
So, and we're also getting ready to launch another company. Yeah, it really is a profitable business.
And it fulfills a need and a service. You got somebody that spends all this time building the business, doing all this stuff, and they're focused on that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, I can actually make a huge profit off of all the hard work and dedication I put into this business that I've built.
Our commission, and every one of the people that works with me will tell you the same thing, our commission pays for itself.
Yeah.
Like, if you try to take your company to the market by yourself, you're going to pay way more than my 12% commission on that deal. I promise you that much. So we certainly earn our commission when we take the thing to market. We absolutely
You guys are the best. You're the best. All right, so we're going to move on a little bit. In your notes and what we've discussed a little bit, you talked about a seller tsunami.
Yeah.
I don't know what a seller tsunami is, but I want to surf the tsunami. So tell us what that is and how does that apply to your business franchising and business buying?
Well, the seller tsunami is what most experts are calling it in the industry, and we're seeing what I consider probably the beginning phases of it. 2014, 2015, and 2016 concurrently from Biz Buy Sell have shown the most listings of all time since they started tracking those stats, and the most business transactions since they started tracking those stats. And what that's showing is that greater than 60% of all businesses in the country, or all small businesses, I should say, and middle market businesses, are owned by baby boomers. And the baby boomers are retiring, and a lot of them don't have a succession plan because kids, grandkids, maybe they don't want to be in business, maybe they don't want to be in the family business, they want to go do something else, or they just don't want to be in business at all.
So you guys are the succession plan.
So
that's where you guys
at
come
that point,
in.
we step in.
Yeah.
And this is projected to be a $10 trillion wealth transition, which is the largest shift of money in the history of mankind and the history of the world.
There's a lot of money in there for you.
Yep. There's a ton of money in there for me. There's a ton of money in there for the sellers as well, because a lot of these sellers don't even realize that they can sell their business instead of what a lot of them do, which is simply close them down. I've heard that story over and over and over again. We got done with our family business. We were ready to retire, so we shut it down. Well, now you have employees that you can no longer employ. They have to go look for new jobs. And that's a wasted opportunity of a really good business that has probably been running 5, 10, 15, 20 years that can continue to carry on that company name, and you can have something to be proud of that you left behind in the market, a lasting impact.
Wow, I like that.
So that's how we plan. That's why I don't ever like to have my name associated with any of my businesses. When I leave.
You want it to be able to continue on, basically.
Right.
So you offer a plan, you go in, all the products that you offer and the services that you offer really, in essence, is a continuation or an extension to the survival of the business.
Correct.
That's awesome. Okay, great. Okay, are you guys hiring right now?
Yeah, always. We are always hiring.
So how important, I'm going to go a little bit off topic and share more about business growth. How critical is it to have people and hire people and go through people and get that in there for you? What is that about?
It's extremely critical because the dinner that I had with my company last night, to get those 10 people or so that were sitting around the table with me on the sharp end of the stick, which is my sales department, to get those, I probably interviewed 450, well, not interviewed, probably went through 450 resumes, and probably interviewed over 100 people. The hiring aspect of this is extraordinarily critical. I've interviewed a lot of people who are currently in business broker positions within my state as well, and have passed on all of those. I'm looking for specific key traits. You got to be able to work hard. Business brokerage, when you do it properly, if there was 36 hours in the day, it would be a 36-hour-a-day job. But there's only 24 hours in the day, and it's still a 36-hour-a-day job. It really is. So business brokerage, you have to come in and you have to be extremely dedicated for however long you're in, 5, 10, 15 years. We've got a number of brokers that have been with us for greater than 20, 30 years that have been in the business for a long time. Average
salary that you guys make in commissions?
Right. Let's just say the top brokers are scraping or going over $1 million a year.
Wow.
And if you fall on your face, you make $0.
Of course. So, I mean, that goes without saying anyway.
Right.
So over $1 million.
I look at the average salaries, right? And this is like the average salaries. If you look at the average salary in the car business, that's like 30 grand.
Yeah.
I made $100,000 plus per year in the car business for many years in the car business. So I don't look at myself as average, and I don't hire average. The average business broker commission, and I think this came from like Glassdoor.com or whatever that website is, where they try to disclose, what you're going to make in an industry, is $84,000 a year, or $88,000 a year. It was $4,000 or $5,000 higher than a commercial real estate broker. Mm-hmm. But I think that's extraordinarily low, or maybe there's just a lot of lazy people in the industry, because it's extremely easy to hit those numbers as a business broker if you do the job properly. I mean, you can hit that on one deal. I did my first big deal in 2014. I made $198,000 on that deal. But I sold that deal for twice what the owner thought it was worth and what he wanted to sell it for. So when he went to market, he was taking this thing to market for almost $900,000, maybe pushing $1 million. And I sat down with him and I said, no, listen, sir, this thing is worth $2.4, $2.6 million. If you give me enough time, I'll get you that money for it. But eventually I brought money to the table for him, and we had a $1.4, $1.5 million offer. He's ready to accept that offer, right?
And you're like, hold on, wait.
Now listen, right? Let's slow this down for a minute and look at what we got. We've got a good buyer. We've got an extremely good company. And right behind this buyer, I had other buyers stacked up at that point in time. So I knew that we were going to get more money for it. Anyway, we ended up negotiating with them. We ended up at a $1.9 million sales price. And then the bank comes in, and banks, they like to come in and do their thing. And they did a valuation on it, came up at like 1.7 or something like that. And then the seller's ready to accept that too. And then I had to put in, another 30, 40, 50 hours of work with the bank to bump them and stretch them another $200,000. So the $200,000 that I made on that deal, he made an extra $700,000 on the deal that he never would have touched.
Wow. Because you guys went in there and you went in there and you really dissected.
And that story is really, it gets repeated. We do, I think, 1,000 deals a year, close to 1,000 deals a year globally.
Yeah.
Which is extremely impressive in this business. Most shops do a lot lower volume than that. But that's repeated over and over and over again, and it's so surprising the success stories that these sellers have when they come in expecting one thing, and like you guys do here, we overpromise, we overdeliver.
You guys just walk and be like, he's like, well, the guy told me it was 1.4. It's like, I can get 2.3 for that. Right. You guys just have a higher projection of it. All right, man. So tell me a little bit more about, I had a question that popped into my head while you were talking. How did you get into this business? How did it start for you? What was that?
I didn't know business brokers existed either, and I went to find out how to sell my own business, and I called around and I had some conversations with some business brokers in the area. And they gave me, I never speak poorly about my competitors. They just gave me a different experience than I would give you if you were to call me and you want to sell the business. So,
sure.
I answer my phone at all hours of the night. I like to tell people there's a few things that I disclose right up front when you first meet me is, number one, you're not always going to like me. You're not always going to like what comes out of my mouth. We're not always going to be the best friends while we're walking through a deal, but I promise you I'll always tell you the truth. I promise you I'll always do what I think is in your best interest, and there's nobody that's going to outwork me in this business.
Damn,
and I live up to those promises that I give them. And just like today, this isn't my only 20-hour day that I'm going to do this week.
I'm sure. So how can people get in touch with you?
That's easy. 757-821-3002.
One more time.
757-821-3002. If you're in Virginia Beach, Charlottesville, Fredericksburg, that'll get you in touch with us extremely quickly.
That's awesome, and you've built a really successful business. You have amazing services. Thank you so much for sharing everything, and I know our audience is going to find a lot of value in that. What's coming up for you this year? It's the end of 2016. We just had a Donald Trump election. We have all this stuff going on.
Nice.
What is going to happen? What is going to happen now for Transworld Business Advisors and Lex Meredith?
Yeah, let's touch on a couple of those things real quick. After the election results, it was just like we got peppered with offers, which was great. We're looking at extreme investor confidence, I believe. I believe 2017 we're going to beat in the first quarter of 2017 what we did all year in 2016.
Wow.
So which will be phenomenal. And then I've got another announcement coming and probably late January as well. I'm going to keep that kind of under wraps, but it's going to be a parallel company to Transworld Business Advisors. It's going to be completely outside the brand, completely different company, but it's going to offer investors that don't end up purchasing a franchise or a business the opportunity to passively invest their money at a 12% fixed rate of return, not a variable rate, not based upon how the investment does, a 12% fixed rate of return backed by a hard real estate assets, first or second mortgage positions on hard real estate assets. So
wow,
that'll be something that's coming in.
That is awesome. Amazing.
Investors drool over 12% fixed rates of return.
I'm sure they do.
Passive money.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, I learned a lot today. I learned about business brokers, that they exist, and that they actually can sell your business and get you top dollar for your business. I learned about franchise consulting, that, hey, if you actually have $50, $100, $150,000 just kind of hanging out, and you go to this guy, go to Lex and say, I want to buy a franchise, and he'll set you up with the right franchise, get you a nice return, invest your wealth, grow your wealth, which is something we talk about all the time on Grant Cardone TV, as well as the different aspects of, the importance of hiring and how he's looking for great people. So if you want to get in touch with him, he's going to drop the phone number again.
757-821-3002.
And every single week, Grant and I bring somebody that is the professional in their industry. We want to see you here. If you have questions on that, just hit us up. We'll be more than happy to get you on the show, on the network. Lex, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate your time today. Tune in next week for another episode of Ask the Pro. Thank you so much.